it was good to be back in the construction industry, driving concrete trucks for Allied Concrete.
How old were you then?
So I was about 19.
Jeepers, that would be epic.
19,
Driving
20.
concrete trucks around at 19, you'd feel like the man, eh?
Yeah, well, I put the aviators on and listened to some good Johnny Cash, and it was pretty good, eh?
What is success to you?
I think it was a learn to love it experience.
And there's always pitfalls that you can fall in, but then you've got no one else to blame but yourself.
Number one thing if you're struggling is to catch up with people about it.
Guys, before we start this episode, let me just quickly jump in here just to thank our content partners, Abodo, for supporting Better Builder. We love what these guys stand for, especially around their sustainability and biodiversity. Abodo is actually thinking way beyond just sustainability, and we know that that is important to more and more clients that builders work with. And all from a family-owned company as well. So thanks, Abodo. We love what you guys do. Now let's kick into this episode. Willie de Gruchy, thanks for coming on the podcast.
No worries. Glad to be here.
Great last name. You mentioned French.
Channel Islands, French. Yep.
Very cool. And de Gruchy Construction. That's the name of the...
WG de Gruchy Construction, yeah.
WG de Gruchy, that's right. Thanks for coming on the podcast, man. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Glad to be here.
Driving across the big bridge.
Yeah. We don't come across often, but when we do, it's for good things.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. Tell me a little bit about where you grew up. Did you grow up around Auckland?
No, definitely not. No, I'm from the East Coast. I'm from Hastings. So, I was a Hastings boy off a sheep and beef farm out of Hastings.
Cool.
And that was our upbringing, and that was what taught us what hard work's about, and the value of working hard, and that as a family.
Yeah.
Mum and dad instilled that in three brothers, so none of the boys are farmers, and all the boys went off and did their own thing. One's a banker in Hawke's Bay, and then one's, works in the entertainment industry in Sydney,
Cool.
Yeah.
So you guys kind of went all in very much different ways. So your dad's still a farmer?
He leases the farm now.
Okay.
So we've got a really good guy, Roland Smith, who's a world champion shearer, leasing the farm, and doing an awesome job at that. So it's allowed mum and dad to step back and enjoy retirement,
Oh, that's nice. I remember because I told you I'm from South Africa, right? Last year we won, I think South Africa, we won the world sheep shearing competition. Yeah.
Is that right?
We beat New Zealand.
Is that right?
Can you believe it?
Whereabouts? It was in Scotland.
Yeah, I can't remember where it was, but it was like a big thing because obviously we won the World Cup, sadly, for Kiwis. But then, it was like a thing. We won the World Cup and also the sheep shearing.
Killing it, eh?
Yeah, just killed it last year. The sheep shearing really got people racked up, I think, beyond the rugby. But anyway, I thought I'd just work that into the conversation.
Good man.
So, I grew up on a farm as well in South Africa. So it's what was it like for you to grow up on a farm? It's fun, right?
It's awesome, man. And then my three brothers, you left to your own devices as young fellas, and we'd spend a lot of time hunting and eeling, and down at the river constantly every day, and then working with the animals and with stock, and doing jobs like fencing, and we put a lot of the farm that wasn't so good into forestry, so there was a lot of tree pruning and stuff like that to do. And those sort of jobs, where you've got to work, extremely hard and monotonous, they sort of set you up for, what we do now just gives you the foundations, and then it just makes the rest of your life much easier.
Yeah.
Because it's instilled in you how to work hard and how to be efficient when you work.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, we in our farm we had like a lot of workers where in New Zealand you have to do a lot of it yourself.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, it was all a family thing.
How big was the farm? How many
so just under 1,000 acres.
How many hectares?
Oh, geez, I'm not big on the hectares one, but old school. But
yeah. I don't know how many acres. Is it like 2.5 acres in a hectare? Isn't
Yeah,
it?
something like that.
Yeah, so that's pretty
Just
big
under
farm,
1,000.
right?
It was big enough, but tough. The Hawke's Bay, as you've seen with Cyclone Gabriel and stuff, in anywhere in New Zealand or the world, you're so dependent on the weather, and that's probably the big reason why I didn't end up farming. Like, I've seen how tough it is, for my parents, through droughts and where we are can be very dry and tough. When you go through a drought, it's pretty bleak.
Yeah, so much out of your control.
So
right?
much out of your control, and so that was probably a big reason why I didn't go farming. The lifestyle and the upbringing, it's just awesome, So we're down south now, out of Clevedon, and we've got we've got a property, we've got 30 acres down there up against the Hanuas. So we sort of are able to bring the kids up in a sort of similar way. We've got some, we've got our own stock, and just on a much smaller scale,
Yeah, more manageable.
More,
and less stressful.
especially with the construction business and that,
So what, you went to school then down in...
Yeah,
down there as well?
so I went to school over in Wanganui, went to boarding school there.
Cool.
So did 5 years there, and from there went. All my schoolmates were going down to Lincoln University. Most of them, Lincoln or Canterbury. Some went down to Otago. So I sort of thought, well, I might as well just follow suit. Although I didn't get a bursary, which you sort of needed to get into university properly. So that sort of caught me out when I went to university. I had to do these different like
bridging courses.
Bridging courses and that, and I was trying to do forestry because I love working in the forestry manually, physically, but didn't really like the idea so much of listening to the lecturers talk about the different. Making up the lost ground I needed to make up for not getting that bursary, I'm not sure what they call it now, probably not bursary.
Yeah, I can't remember what they do like NCEA levels now. I don't know what you need.
But to any of the kids listening, just make sure you listen at school.
I know.
Try
also
hard.
that acres to hectares.
Well,
let's
there you
brush
go.
over that.
That's not listening in me. So, I went down there, but I didn't last long, 6 months in that. And then I sort of pivoted and went into, I did a diploma in human resource management, which took me, it was supposed to be 1 year. It took me 2 years to pass that. Eventually got it. And in that meantime, I was sort of doing driving concrete trucks and things like that to try and, help pay for things. And I sort of just, I was always much happier at work and working with men and working, with my hands, and I was back in the construction industry, which I'd spent a bit of time in labouring as a kid and stuff. School holidays when I wasn't working on the farm, I'd do labouring jobs in Hastings and stuff for Maxey's Construction and the likes, and so it was good to be back in the construction industry. Driving concrete trucks for Allied Concrete. And
that would be cool. How old were you then?
So I was about 19.
Jeepers, that would be epic.
19,
Driving
20.
concrete trucks around at 19, you'd feel like the man, eh?
Yeah, well, I put the aviators on and listened to some good Johnny Cash, and it was pretty good. I started in the mini mixer, which was just your class 2, like driving a car, 6-speed car. And then as soon as I got any chance I got, I'd try and jump in the bigger trucks, the 6-wheelers and 8-wheelers with the Road Ranger gearbox, the big, 13 speeds. And eventually I got my class 4, which is those, and then my class 5, which is the heavy truck and trailer unit, which I did a little bit of hay carting work in Hawke's Bay, knocked out a few strainer posts and stuff like that, and so I did the truck driving, and then what was I doing? I was playing rugby and trying to make it as a rugby player, which I never quite succeeded at. But I ended up playing over in France. I was lucky enough to go, there's a lot of guys playing, Division 1 club footy in Canterbury at that stage, all around the country, going over to France and in Europe and playing. They've since, I think, tightened up on all of that, and there are a lot of South Africans over there too. Yeah. A few Aussies. So I was lucky enough to get over with Biarritz Olympic, who was the top club in France at the time.
Cool. What position?
Loose forward. So
you look like a loose forward. You look like you get your hands dirty.
It's a slow one at that. But so I went over there and it was what an experience. 20 years old, Barrett's one of the top clubs in France. I think they came second or if they didn't win the competition that year. I didn't make the first team. There were 5 loose forwards already in the first team. They were all the French national loose forwards. Serge Betson was the blind side. Wow. The Livermore brothers, Didier Chouchon, the legends in that team were, the Silver Fox, Bernard Saul, he was in there, Joe Roth was there.
Crazy, so you're holding a lot of tackle bags.
Yeah, and so the second team was really strong, and we a lot of those guys would come and play down our team. So I've played on the loose forwards with the Livermore brothers and stuff,
Wow.
I mean, they've racked up over 100 tests for France.
So cool,
each,
eh?
So I was at 20 years old, I was probably a bit naive, and looking back could have made a better fist of it, but it definitely helped, with where I've got to today, and learned a lot about myself. There wasn't a lot of English spoken down there, which I was sort of caught me a little bit off guard. It's pretty deep in the south down there, Basque country.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some pretty staunch characters down there too. You think you've played a bit of club footy in New Zealand. You've seen a few things, but once you get over to France, and there's some pretty hearty characters over there, eh? And they get pretty worked up, sometimes, often before a game, the coach was crazy. He would to keep the tight 5 in the change room. They wouldn't go out before the game, and the loose forwards would go out and warm up with the backs, the pretty boys, and the French backs are much different to the French forwards, especially the tight forwards. Right. And we would come back into the change room before the game, and all their eyes had rolled back. They've gone, they've been head-butting the concrete block walls, and it's like, holy,
Few screws loose, ready to go.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. And the French aren't really known for their patience levels, right? They're not really like.
No, I mean, no. Like when it kicks off, and you can feel the energy just starting to go in the crowd, and the jeering, and you start the erraticness of the playing, and you just can it's going to happen, and then it just explodes, and these people coming in from all angles with fly kicks, and it's crazy, eh?
So that would have been a pretty cool experience. So what sort of person who was Willie back then? Were you kind of outgoing person, more reserved? Were you like the party boy? Like what was sort of
I was pretty reserved. I was just trying to soak it all up and learn. I've been very lucky to play and be alongside some awesome guys and awesome players. Jace Ryan's one of them. He's a good club mate of mine at Sydenham. In the West Coast, we played on the West Coast together for a season. Now the All Black forwards coach.
Yep.
I've got immense respect for him as a leader. You'd follow that guy into the heat of battle any day, and so you can see why he's been so successful. You've been lucky enough to sort of be around some pretty sort of cool fellas. So I was very, I was a lot younger than all those guys, and I'd sort of just be pretty quiet and take it all in. And then, I got to a stage where I came back, played a few more seasons in Canterbury. Then I went over to the UK and did a season there. And at that point, I sort of lifted the leadership a little bit, and started being a little bit more, learning my place, that I could, I felt like I'd done the yards, and sort of I was starting to learn a bit more,
Yeah.
So probably a little bit too reserved, maybe, yeah.
In hindsight, yeah. So then how did that transition from you thinking about getting back into construction? Did you make your way back? Or?
Yeah, when we went over to the UK, we played a season there, and we started a fencing and forestry business at the same time, and that was really good for the summer. Awesome money, and so we bought the old transit tipper, and all the English guys called us the pikeys because we were exactly the same, me and my mate who came over as well. So he was first 5 and I was loose forward for team down in Sussex, and then it was like a Division 3 competition, Division 2 or 3, Division 3, and so we did that, and then when we did one winter, and the English winter when you're doing fencing and forestering is brutal, man. It's dark and wet the whole time, and the trees and the everything's just muddy as. So I was like, we've got to do something next winter. We've got to do something else. We can't be doing this again.
Inside.
And so we ended up doing a dry lining job, doing this huge big school down in Sussex with the Russian dry lining crews. And it was huge, like big cafeteria on site and lifting this really heavy sheetrock board. Two of us could only just lift a big sheet up, and it was cold as hell. I still remember how cold it was, but we did that. And then so that got us inside finally, out of the weather, not out of the cold, but and then one thing led to another. A few of my building mates had started coming over by this stage, and they were doing loft conversions in London. So then I moved into London and started linking up with those guys, and we were sort of doing a bit of loft converting work, and then just your sort of just general building work, that you'd sort of job hire stuff, and you'd sort of say you're a builder. They used to call it chancing.
Yeah.
And you'd have all the tools. You wouldn't know how to use them, most of them. I knew a few of the fencing tools,
Right.
And you'd go on these construction sites, and the English foreman or whatever they would give you a job, and you just go and try and do it, And there's some pretty funny stories about guys, farmers, most of them, pretending to be builders and just making a pretty good fist of it. Some of them would be running a couple of jobs. They'd go and punch their ticket in one site, and then go out and punch in ticket in another site. So I'd be sort of getting paid on two sites.
Jeez, is that how they pull that off?
Pretty hard case. It's all changed a lot now, But where there's a will, there's a way, and some of these guys are pretty resourceful, these guys from up and down the coast,
Yeah. We've had a few guys on the podcast that's done the stint, right, in the UK, and it sounds like over there they were sort of just giving, especially like Kiwi guys or whatever, and might have been Aussies as well, maybe some Sapphires or whatever, but like giving them just a lot more like rope to just kind of like go do it, like prove yourself. If
you just take the bull by the horns and just go and do it, which a lot of these guys would do, 100%. There was plenty of rope there, and the money was good. There was plenty of work, and you once I moved out of the loft conversion and I was working with my builder mates who were qualified builders by the stage. It was a really good grounding for what I then eventually came back and did my apprenticeship. There's no pre-hung doors. You buy the door leaves and the jambs separately, and you make them all. You do all your hardware. You do all your jib. You do everything, and the lofts in a very short space of time. Like you might spin a small loft over in sort of I don't know, 6 weeks, 8 weeks or something.
Wow. Okay.
And you're getting up into that roof space, putting beams in, doing a subfloor, punching up through the roof, dormers, intricate roofs, tricky roofs, scaffolds.
You'd get like a real good cross section of a whole bunch of different stuff.
You do, just no foundations. So unless you're doing basements, and some guys were doing basements, But no, we stuck to the lofts, and we'd punch through heaps, man. Like we'd knock those lofts over real quick, and you'd take those same work ethics that you'd built, like fencing and forestry, where you're paid per metre per tree. With the forestry, you're paid whatever it was, 90 cents a tree, first prune, and so you've got to work,
Yeah.
And so we would really knuckle down and knock these things over. And so everyone loved us there, the English people, and they all, love these Kiwi builders, and Kiwis' work ethic in general was held in high regard. So hopefully it's still that way.
Yeah, no, that's good. So you sort of got going. You're not qualified yet at that point, but you're just sort of like ripping at it, going for gold. So then I'm kind of interested. So when you came back to New Zealand, how did you just go straight into an apprenticeship, or?
Yep. So I came back to New Zealand and I wanted to go back to Hawke's Bay. That's where I love Hawke's Bay. I bleed black and white. Staunch Magpies supporter, and I wanted to try and make the Magpies team. It was always been a dream of mine, and because I'd always been in Wanganui or Canterbury, I'd never been able to give it a go. So I wanted to make sure I played for the best rugby club in Hawke's Bay, to give it the best, and I wanted to work for the best builder in Hawke's Bay, and I was lucky enough to get a spot with Ben Redman Builders. And if you want to talk to who I'd regard as one of the best builders in the country, you want to get him up here, man, because that guy,
on the list.
he's a machine, and I still, we're great mates today. So I was lucky enough to come back and work for him, and I knocked my apprenticeship out in 2 years doing high-end architectural work. And he was building some awesome stuff back then, and he still is today. Like he just cleaned up the Central Region's House of the Year awards again. He's cleaned it up most years that he enters. So hopefully he goes and knocks off the national one this year finally.
Cool. So you learned a lot there from him. He was a bit of a mentor. Or?
Yeah, massive mentor, man. Like I've been lucky enough. Even when I was fencing, I worked with guys. Jasper Logan, a good mate of mine. Just pedantic about doing things really full noise, but really well to the high standards. When we're fencing, he would make us dig fence posts out again if they weren't perfectly straight in line, and we're talking not 10 metres, 100 metres long. We're talking kilometre long fence lines. All dug in by hand into bloody hard clay pan and stuff. So I'd learnt the quality thing early, and from my dad as well. But then with the high end, Ben really reinforced the high end residential construction quality side.
Yeah.
And because the loft conversion stuff, wasn't probably, you probably couldn't class it as that same quality, it was done really fast, but it just just raised the level, and opened my eyes to what can be achieved,
Yeah. So what was the guy's name again that you worked for?
Ben Redman.
Yeah, Ben, right? So what sort of, because success often leaves clues, right? So what did Ben do that you sort of then took into how you wanted to run your business? What did you take from him?
So firstly, he was involved in everything fully, like he'd be the first fella on site every morning. And he pretty much bounced out of his van with his dog, just so excited about the days building ahead, and enthusiastic, whether it be digging, foundations, by hand that the digger couldn't get to through the clay pan or whatever all day, or whatever it was. He just lived and breathed it, man. And just how he went about doing things. He was taught by a really good fella himself, and you just see those. It's our responsibility, I didn't know that at the time. I do now. And it's something that I take very seriously, and it's important to me that we pass that down, and we try and foster it as much as we can. But just everything about how he held himself and his expectations, they were unwavering. You just know, it's close enough, and I tried the odd time, and I'm sure Ben will remember to get away with a few things, and I ended up having to take them down again, so and feeling you're not too good about it, so.
Yeah. Well, you have to redo it, eh?
Yep.
It kind of then you really learn quite quickly.
Yep.
And so how long did you work for him until you sort of got decided to go out on your own? Did you work for him that whole time, or did you move
two
around?
years till qualified, which was pretty quick, but because I'd already done for 5 years building in London, be it chancing or whatever, and like I said again, doing all of that stuff in London. The loft conversions, it just gave me a really good base, and then you mixed it with Ben, getting the methodology and that squared away.
Refining.
And then I was open-minded enough to buy into it all, and had the right attitude, key thing, So I stayed there for about another couple of years. I think I ran a pretty cool job, which was my first job is out and out sort of foreman for Ben, which was a real unique job, which I'll never forget. It was all helicopter work. We were building a luxury hunting and fishing lodge, in off the Mohaka River, in between Hawke's Bay and Taupo, Hastings, Napier and Taupo. So we would fly in from Hastings every Monday morning and fly out on Fridays, I think.
On the helicopter?
In the helicopter, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And all the materials would be flown in by a big Iroquois, which is a big, sort of heavy lift, Vietnam War era sort of things. And man, they were cool. I love helicopters, eh? And so we would fly everything in, digger, a mini digger. The first load that went in, I went in with my chainsaw, and there was a bit of a clearing, where there's a little bivvy, and then I cleared the space, and the next load the helicopter brought in was the Iroquois brought in a small mini digger, 1.8 ton digger without the cage on the top.
So they just sort of hang it underneath the helicopter, just hang it in?
Yep, so that started clearing, and I was on the chainsaw, and the next load was a little dingo, the little mini sort of bobcat thing.
Yeah.
And then we started clearing the side, and so we had to and then more materials started coming in, and the first thing was to clear a space for our tent, and then we built a little kitchen sort of slash tool room, all open air, set a boiler up and generator, and we ended up we created this amazing lodge. That's what it ended up as, from nothing. Totally off the grid. No one knows it's there.
Wow.
And it was just amazing. Big Aga. The big. I think it was a diesel Aga. And so that was challenging. You're building totally off-grid satellite phone, which would work sometimes. I mean, the mountains were so steep, like in the wintertime. Summertime, it was pretty good. You're sort of seeing green because it's just all native bush, and it's steep. So by the time the winter came around, the sun wouldn't ever get on the site because it was too steep, so it was always in the shade, and it was so cold, man. Wow. And by that stage, we moved from the tent into we were living in the construction site just because it was too cold in the tent. But living in your construction site's not that good either, like dust all over your bed and pillow and stuff every day. And
Jeepers. So that must have been quite a cool experience. And then obviously you got the background in the, working in the forestry stuff, so you could it all crosses over.
Yep. The ability to lend your hand to things, like jump on the digger, no problem, jump on the digger, whatever, just chainsaw. And that's something that I'm real big with my guys now. I've got all young guys. I'm 10 years on any of them, and I'm 44, so at least 10 years on most of them. I want to teach them to be proper builders, and that means being able to use a concrete saw. We've got all our own stuff, diggers. We've got diggers, bobcat, all the compaction gear, concrete saws, everything, because I like to be able to just get it done. And we try and teach the guys all those things, so they become really useful, not just on site, but in their life. Like if their family member or friend wants them to jump on a digger to clear something, they can put their hand up and get it done for them, or whatever it is, and that makes them better,
Yeah.
So,
because it's I feel like we've lost that a little bit, eh? And even myself, I'm not a builder, but just it's not as capable as they used to be in the previous generations, you know what I mean? Everything's outsourced, and then even in the building side, people become specialists
subbed
in
out.
a small area.
Yeah.
Sub it out. And so I think that's a really good thing you're doing, like building into that next generation, just keep that going.
Yeah, teach them to be proper builders.
Yeah. So let's talk about your building business. How many guys, and I've seen some amazing projects you've worked on over the years, which is pretty cool, eh? How big is your team at the moment? What's your sort of crew
So
mix?
there's six of us, including me, so pretty small. It'll range between six. We're a little bit light at the moment. We're probably one short. So the guys are getting worked pretty hard, and I'm sure they're looking forward to us getting somebody else on board. But I'd prefer it to run it that way, a little bit lean, than having too many guys, because it doesn't take much, and it flips the other way real quickly, and you sort of lose a bit of efficiency. Like guys get a little bit lazier, if you like. So I try and run it as lean as I can, but it tips it, pretty quickly. So we're a guy or two light, and we've got some cool projects that we're looking at coming up. So we'll need to ramp it up again, maybe back to 8. 2 teams of 4, or we can mix it up 6 and whatever. 6 and 2.
And then how many apprentices coming out?
We've just we've got 1 at the moment, and we've just had 1 qualified who's been with us for about 4 or 5 years. So that's awesome. And so we're due to get another one. I've found, over the years, there is still a lot of young, motivated guys, that reach out, to us. I know, because they've seen or heard or whatever, what we do, or and they want to learn properly. So I often have young guys approaching me to see if there's a space, and there often isn't. But I always keep there. Always help them. Always help anyone that emails me and uses my name. So it's not some sort of a computer generated thing, whatever. I'll always reply to them, because I look at it like treat others like you would like to be treated. There's many architects that I might have emailed that I never get a reply from. And I don't like that,
Yeah.
So if somebody emails me wanting something and they use my name and that, why wouldn't I wouldn't I respond to them and get, be decent?
Yeah.
And I hold myself to those standards. It doesn't matter how busy I am, how, whatever, I do. And so I'll help these guys, and I'll say, if I'll keep their CV. And I'll say I'll reach out to you if something comes up, and if you're still looking or whatever, then there might it might work, and often it does. And so we'll always bring these young guys, have a couple of young guys coming through, because what I find, these young motivated guys, is they want to learn what you've got, and then they want to go out and do their own thing. So, and I encourage that. You can't stop that. That's cool. That's probably one of the beauties of what we do, although I think it probably gets pushed a little bit too much. The guys would be so much better off if they got their apprenticeship done and then just really mastered their craft for another 3 or 4 years and become a true master of what they did. I mean, you're always going to learn more, but just those 3 or 4 years in, 4 years in, it's only just starting to click. And then it starts clicking really quite fast. And if you can do another 3 or 4 years and just be a really good builder, it'd make you so much better, before you go out on your own and create all sorts of craziness,
Yeah, that seems to be the way. From talking to different builders, I think that seems to be the way. And then also beyond that, so now you're getting competent with the building, right? But then also there's like the business aspect. So like what, if you had to do it again, or if you had to give guys advice that are thinking about it now, how would you do it? Like, obviously you say you'll at least do another 4 years on the building side to be really competent. But then would you recommend that they stay a little bit longer, maybe ask to be involved in the pricing, asked to know a bit more about the project management? Or, what would you say?
All of that. You can never learn enough, and you can never open your mind enough and be keen to soak up more knowledge, and when guys are like that, I'll help them as much as they want to be helped, so guys will come up and spend some time with me in the office if they want, and I'll run them through whatever they want to see. I don't care, it's all spreadsheets, and it works for me. It probably doesn't work for anyone else, whatever, but it's all, really detailed stuff, and I'm happy to share it, how I do things, and how I price things and all of that stuff. So it's really up to that individual, if they really want to get after it and and be a sponge, and it's all there for you, man. And we'll give guys the tools to be as good as they want to be, man. Like if they want to go and crush the world as a builder, I feel like we've got the recipe and the systems and processes, the know-how to help them get to that point, But it's up to them,
Yeah, for sure. I like that though in terms of that leadership style. It looks like you are quite open to share, open to kind of give back to the next generation. I guess that's because that's what you got.
Yep.
When you worked for that other guy as well, Redman.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And so I guess it's sort of like it just sort of keeps breeding that. Where I guess in the other part of the industry, people that get treated like shit, they kind of treat the guy below them like shit. Sort of. But you have to start somewhere, right?
Yep. Yep.
And what's your sort of approach to leadership then? Are you sort of like a lead from the front sort of guy? Are you what's sort of your kind of philosophy?
So lead by example first and foremost. I think that's one of the pillars of leadership, but it's not the only. And if you Look, leadership interests me a lot, man, and I think it's the older I get and the more, the more I learn about it, the sort of, and I constantly try and learn about it. I listen to a lot of podcasts, read the odd book, I could read more, should read more. It just helps me more and more, lead by example is first and foremost, but then try and have some really good, clear processes and systems, and try and find ways to get you guys to buy into those. When you lead by example and you create these processes and systems and you get buy-in from the guys, you can really create a powerful thing. And then the guys, what I've found in the past, you get good, motivated young guys with a good attitude and they buy in. They help foster that culture and those they are like the gatekeepers to your culture and the processes and systems. And new guys that come in, they either sink or swim. They either conform and follow suit with these guys, or they get sort of squeezed out, And I'd had no idea that would be a thing, but I saw it happening, And I didn't try and create it. It just sort of happened because of, I suppose how I went about doing things, and luckily enough I managed to have some good guys that helped create it. And then you start seeing what can be achieved when you learn what works and create these systems and processes, and then the key thing is sticking to them. You're always going to have new guys coming through, and sometimes your team's a little bit lighter on experience than it has been in the past or whatever. So you need to lean on your leaders to really make sure that those processes and systems and that are upheld, because all those little bits and pieces, they help keep that culture thriving, which you keep that thriving and your guys are happy. You're going to get efficiency in your site. You're going to get rhythm, in your strides. Yeah. And when you hit rhythm on those big jobs, you're in a powerful place, man. You're humming, and you feel it when it happens, and you're just getting through the jobs, and everything's working real good, But it doesn't just happen, And I put a lot of work into trying to keep it. Keep it or get it up to where I want it, and sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not, and you just got to I think it's just constant work,
Yeah, refinement,
man.
Yeah. And so, how do you do your systems and processes? Are they documented? Is it just sort of people watching others, and then imitating over time, and sort of Is that how it is done, or do you have like documents set up, like quality control documents? And things?
No. So interesting one, because we've just been talking about this with the boys, the foremen and stuff. And I've only got two foremen, two really good young guys. One of them, Jed's been with me since I started. He was my first apprentice, so he's been with me 15 years. Wow. Put up with me for that long, and he's awesome, man. He's one of the best craftsmen around, and we're just trying to get some of the leadership things through to him a little bit more. But I'm constantly learning and that on that. I don't necessarily document it much. We talk about it a hell of a lot, but I think that what I'm learning is that needs to be reinforced with some documentation. And how we do that is something that I'm just starting to think about a bit more. And I just made a note to myself and wrote something on an A4 paper in my office before, daily or just site values, culture, just some buzzwords at the moment. But we're gonna list some things, and we're gonna get the guys to all sort of buy in and add in whatever they think. And I'm going to get it designed and done, and we'll create big A4, A3, whatever A1 stickers that we can put on the smoker room, side office, just with some of our core things. And they can be so little as saying good morning to each other first thing in the morning, man. Like, how's it, man? Like, you have a good night last night, or just don't come to site with your hoodie on and go in your shell straight away. That's something's not good there. Like, good morning. Like, I'm massive on that with the kids. So it's the first thing we do when we see each other in the morning. How's your day at school? Whatever. Like. Just knock the barriers down straight away, So we will write that, and maybe the why, because we're lucky to be alive, and fuck, what an awesome day, man. Like, where would you rather be? Out fishing or whatever, but, that's the why, and I use the analogy, I think, I to the boys, the wheelbarrow one, like, I expect the wheelbarrows to be clean, spotless when we've done concrete work or something. And it's not so much that I, am in love with the wheelbarrow and I don't want to buy another one. I've got the same wheelbarrows I started with 15 years ago. I've obviously got a few newer ones since then, but we look after them. We put new tyres on them, we clean them, and it's about looking after your tools, looking after what you are, what helps put the bread and butter on the table for you, and if you can get the guys to start thinking about the why a bit more, and not, Willie's making me clean the wheelbarrow. No, you're not thinking about it right. I'm making you clean the wheelbarrow, or I'm not making you. Hopefully you've bought into it and it's part of the process. But it's because you want to clean the barrow, because you care. You've got respect. You care for your tools. You care for your company and your standards. Yeah. So it's simple as that. And another big one that we're big on is having a few beers, or it used to always be a few beers on a Friday at 4:00 to finish the week. It doesn't matter how your week's been, how stressed out you've been on your job or whatever. Having a few beers to put an end on that work week, so the guys then go into their weekend, whatever that may entail. They've closed the chapter on the work week, and they go into their weekend with their family, their loved ones, their friends, whatever. Fresh, like having signed off from the work week, and then you started again with a toolbox meeting on the Monday, and it doesn't matter what happened on the weekend, you've got a re-zero because we're at work with our mates and safety, and we all want to go home. The beers has always been something that I've tried to get the guys to do, and it doesn't have to be beers. It can be a protein shake before you go to the gym, whatever whatever floats your boat. And and I know the guys won't want to stick around for beers every Friday, but at least every couple, let's sit around and get a pizza or something and just have a yarn and decompress. Yeah. We always clean our tools up on a Friday, blow everything down, and it's about just being definitive on that, looking after the tools that, you know, that you make your living with. Without them, you got nothing. You can't do much without, you know, your tools. So we look after them and clean them up, and then you can go to the next stage of your week with your, you know, go have fun.
Yeah, I love it. It's very, you know, you'd almost call that old school now, which is kind of sad.
I think, yeah, it is sad.
In terms of being on the tools, as we're talking about, are you still on the tools?
Every now and again, I like my tool belt's always with me in the ute, and I'll put it on. Like if we're running the big architectural jobs, you know, I'll be very heavily involved in those because I have to be. You know, the multi-million-dollar, the really big stuff. You know, so the set out stuff when there's the excavation and that, I'll be there because I've earned the experience I've got, and there's no substitute for it, man. Like when you're dealing with, you know, 20-ton excavators, 6-ton excavators, you know, multiple trucks going back and from the tip or the quarry, if you're not making the right calls and you got your stuff really squared away, you're going to cost, you know, the job, the project, the client, yourself, a lot more money, you know, so it matters, you know. The concrete work, same thing. Like I'm very heavy, and I love it. I love being around the heavy machinery. It's the rural upbringing, I suppose, you know. I love that whole part of it. I bought a total station years ago, so we do all our own survey stuff, you know. And I've got a robotic one now, so that does all the that helps us, you know, set everything out, you know, to the millimetre. And we use that in combination with the old school string lines and that, but it cuts the professional surveyors out. We need them once at the start to set up our controls. Then we lock into those, and we the robot does the rest, you know.
Pretty cool.
So I'm not totally an old school character. It does
some new school stuff.
Yeah,
too.
a little bit. You know, walk around with the little tough book, and the robot follows you. You know, with the prism. So then that makes us really efficient. You know, we can have 2 diggers on site, and with no string lines up, and we can be clearing, cutting and digging footings to the millimetre with nothing in the way, you know. And then as soon as we've done that, we get a chance then to get a bit more old school, get profiles and string lines up, and then teach the guys those ways, you know.
Yeah. So your goals are never to be off the tools in the office.
I love it, man. I love having a hand on a finger on the pulse, you know. And I think it's important, you know. I also need to be mindful of, I've got 2 young foremen, and they're real good, motivated young guys. And you've got to try to give them their space to flourish and do their thing. But then you need to guide them at times as well. So we're pretty honest with ourselves, and you know, like, as long as, you know, we're sort of respectful of each other, and you know, things are done how we expect, and it works really well, you know. So I'll go and help them as much as they need, and I'll generally go and see them at least, you know, once a day, and spend as much time with them as I need. And if we're running one of those big jobs, then I'll be there most of the day, you know. Before I try and get back to the office and deal with the emails that have built up through the day, and so I can get the kids' sport at 5 o'clock, and then I'm pretty strict on that now, you know. Like I start early, 4:30 in the morning, and I try and you know, make sure I finish by 5 so I can do stuff with the kids, and you know, I'm very mindful that you only get one shot at that, and it's very important to me, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Before I want to touch on that, but before we do, I just want to know as well. So you you project manage all the projects yourself as well.
Yep.
Do you quote all the jobs as well?
Yep.
And so when you look at your business, you know, you obviously got the building side, but then when you look at the business side, what sort of numbers are like really important to you that you kind of keep an eye on to make sure things are tracking as they should, business wise?
So like I'm no businessman, and I haven't been formally taught, definitely not that I can remember, in the human resource management, not at Lincoln either, you know, but I've got my ways of Laura and my wife Laura, she's involved with the business. She does a lot of the admin and the behind the scenes stuff, and I couldn't do what I do without her. And I'm sure a lot of the guys that you talk to in a similar position to me would be of similar. Like we're only able to do what we do, with having somebody in the background that's able to pull all that stuff together as well, So we've got our ways of doing things, and it might not be, exactly how they teach you in business school, but we're very detailed with our spreadsheets and how we break things down, and our bank account systems. Like we've got lots of holding accounts that we siphon, different things off to your ACC, your tax. Every week it's going into these. We've worked out what needs to go where. So what's left in your main account is a pretty clear reflection of what's there, because you've got all these holding accounts holding everything else, and you don't think, things are going a bit better than they are until you get hit with this,
Yeah.
So we've got our ways, and they work for us, but it's probably not. It's probably not, something that I can sort of convey in any sort of business speak.
How do you navigate then family life and business life? Obviously, one of the things you mentioned is you try to be done, do a lot of your work early in the morning, be done by 5. Are there sort of any other sort of practical things you've brought in terms of like navigating that, making sure the kids get their attention, the wife gets the attention, the business gets the attention?
Yeah, it's tough, because it's a constant juggling act, and what worked when the kids were young, 2, 3, doesn't work when they're 5, 6, and then you start hitting the sports, and then you think it's pretty hectic when they're young and then it just keeps ramping, so we're in that stage now. Scarlett's 11, Jackson's 9. They're sports every night of the week. Luckily, we've only got 2. My hat's off to anyone that's got 3, 4 or more, man, because far out, like it's busy, And luckily, their sports clubs are, the same club, netball and rugby, so they're pretty close. And then so we can sort of tie up the trainings pretty similarly. The games on Saturday are always at different parts of South Auckland. I just make sure that, like when I was a little bit younger and when they were younger, like I pushed extremely hard with work, and I'd be early in the morning till late at night, and weekends, like we'd be pricing jobs, whatever, big tenders all weekend, and I've made a lot of sacrifices, like we've made a lot of sacrifices. We got married and no honeymoon, we straight back to work. 2 days later, we're building a big architectural home, so you couldn't take holidays, like I've always had a young team of guys, I started with all apprentices and me, and when we were straight into the architectural stuff. So when I came up from Hawke's Bay from Ben, I was very clear. Interesting story, actually. My dad had cut out it was off the back of the last recession, a clipping out of the New Zealand Herald with a photo of Phil Lindsay, who I obviously didn't know at the time, on the front of it saying, Auckland builder killing it, or something, even through the tough times or something like that. And I was down Hawke's Bay then, and I was like, something just resonated, and I was like, that's what I want to do, So I picked up the car and moved up here to loaded the trailer up and moved up here to do my own thing. And I've always looked up to Lindsay Construction and some of the others, Phil Leach, PSL Construction men, like Ross Bannon's another one, JD Glover. There's a few of them out there, Glover Homes. They're just awesome guys, and they've managed to just continue to work to a really high level, and you don't really hear anything bad said about them from anyone, like the trades or whatever, A lot of the subcontractors work for the same guys, so we hear.
Yeah.
It came up here and looked up to these guys, and tried to learn as much as I could. And I knew I needed to get to where I wanted to be as quick as I could. I knew I needed to do something and get some awards on the board real quick, and lucky enough, I managed. We were lucky enough to get out some pretty cool jobs, and so we were lucky enough to win a few awards, and we sort of pushed that pretty hard, but now it's I'm not worried about the awards. I don't feel like that's important, For me, it's my family is everything to me, and my kids and wife, and having a really good balance, and working for good people is key for me now, and if that means building a fence or a deck, we'll do it, as long as they're good people, and then that sort of shift has just sort of happened over the last couple of years, not the family thing, but the work thing. I was very driven towards, and I was very driven towards just trying to build these big, shiny, tricky architectural homes, because I love it. I love the challenge, but there you go. I love it. Like there's more to it than me, but. It takes a while to realise that, and you're very driven to try and create a good life for your family and that, and so you go at it 100 miles an hour and with everything you got, but and I still do that, but it's just I'm not targeting those big, shiny, tricky architectural builds now. We'll still do them when they come up for the right reasons, for the right people. For good people, good architects, and then we'll do them. But, it's more important now that we just work for good people and we really enjoy, what we do, and we try and create a really professional team of young guys that have a really good culture and enjoy, teaching them and training them to be, good builders. That's what really gets me going now,
And it sounds to me like you married well, in the sense of like a wife that's like there, supportive.
Very lucky.
How important has that been? Like, and I guess for younger guys listening, the importance of, marrying like the right kind of wife.
I mean, like how do you? I'm so lucky, to have Laura as my wife, and. It makes a massive difference, like she understands, she's got similar goals and that, and we're aligned, she's her number one role is to, look after the kids and make sure that they're getting the very best that they can, and I'm very clear in my role as, trying to, make sure I do everything I can to give them a good life, teach them, properly, like I was, raised, luckily enough, how I was raised.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. People always ask, I guess they just want to know around if there's anyone else out there that's also, that's gone through some tough times, through building. What's sort of the biggest financial hit, if any, that you guys have taken in the business over the years? Have there been big mistake that you've made in terms of pricing, or, maybe, I don't know if it's a construction related mistake or whatever, but a mistake where you've kind of gone, jeepers, that's really hurt?
Yep, they've definitely been there. Now, we've when you start out, no one knows who you are, no one cares, and, it's very hard to get these big architectural jobs, and so I've had to tender, and I've done a fair few big multi-million-dollar tenders, which are pretty daunting, some of them probably lucky I've missed out on, and through that process, I've seen how they go, the games that are played, and the madness. And I, to be honest with you, I'm not interested in tendering now. I'm not interested, won't do it, It's not clear cut enough, they're supposed to be, but they're not, So we have done the tenders on big multi-million-dollar architectural builds, and we've bought jobs and we've paid the price, and I've just been very lucky in those early years that I worked so hard, and man, like I look back now, it's scary, you know, like we just got through, you know, and my brother's a banker, and he would say like, I'd send him the accounts and he'd be like, mate, like, you know, how are you operating, man? Like it's not good, you know, and just through sheer determination and hard work and luck, I suppose, mix all those things up. You know, and I'd like to think I learn pretty quickly. You got to, and sort of pivot and adjust quickly. We've managed to get through. You know, so we've had a few that cost not in the up to the 100,000 mark. Some of them, you know, you're a bit light on labour and stuff. We just finished a big architectural build. You know. 10 million plus job, and I fixed the 3-year job. I fixed off a fair part of that. Now that was through the back end of COVID and all the material shortages and price rises. Mate,
it was a fixed price.
My hair didn't fall out before then. She all fell out, you know, a year ago. You know, like because that was pretty stressful, man. Like when you're getting price, you know, your subcontractors saying that cedar's going up, you know, damn near like doubling in price, and then you've got, you know, $100,000 worth of cedar shutters. You've got to hope that you've got really good, long-lasting relationships, and you've the way you've done it. Luckily, the way I work is on relationships, and I don't tender out to all my subbies. You know, I work on a trust model and you know, work with good people and foster relationships. A lot of the subbies all pulled together, and we sort of, you know, we made sure we got payments, you know, early. We bought things a year early. I had my I'm lucky I've got a big shed out in you know, Clevedon, and it's, you know, room to fill it up with, you know, waterproofing, and we had the torch on there, pallets of it, you know, which was a nightmare because one roll of torch on so heavy, man. So I would load, you know, my truck up with the Bobcat with pellets of torch on that had been in my shed, you know, for, you know, a year. We had to buy all that stuff early, you know. And we managed to get that job. It didn't even go 1% over. It stayed under, you know, 100 point, you know, whatever. It didn't hit the 1% over. So it's one of my proudest moments, you know, of what we've done, managing to price that job so accurately that it didn't even go 1% over, you know, through all of those material. But it comes at a cost, man. Like it takes everything out of you, eh?
We're coming to the end now. Like time
quick.
Flies when you're having
fun,
a good
eh?
convo. Yeah, we're having fun. But I've got some rapid fire questions for you, Willie, if you're happy for me to shoot some out.
Yeah.
So remind me, how big is your team?
6, including me. Probably 1 or 2 light, according to the guys.
Yeah. What's your crew mix?
Crew mix is far out 1 apprentice, 2 foremen, and the rest builders. So 3 or 4 builders.
Cool. How many projects did you complete last year?
We were finishing the landscaping of that big build all year, and the other team was working on a big renovation all year. So we didn't really complete anything. We completed the landscaping start of this year, and we're still working on the other renovation at this point now. We've completed it in a week's time. So
yeah, big jobs.
Big jobs.
What's your turnover range? Under 1 mil, 1 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 7, 7 to 10, 10 mil plus.
I think it's about the 3 to 5, yeah.
Cool. Yep. What's the lowest gross profit margin building company should be aiming for?
Oh, bro, like you've got me on that.
Yeah.
It's too sort of business related, that one for me. Well, I mean, whatever. Far out. How do I answer that? You've got to find a way that works for you. You know, don't undersell yourself. You know, and find out what your value is and stick to it. You know, try not to undersell yourself. I think we as builders we all do too often, and we all have done, you know, because we needed to keep the guys busy. We needed their job or whatever, and so we go in lighter and we cut our margin back. Yeah, risky ground, you know?
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good advice, I think. Free quote or paid quote?
Paid. It should be paid. I build it into my PNG. I've got a line item, which is all clear. I break all my PNG down into line items. A big part of it's my own hire equipment, and I think that's a real important one. Like, man, buy your stuff if you can and hire it out, because it works really good, man. Like, why wouldn't you? And you've got it all there. It's mint. It works. If you've got the room for it, buy your own stuff and hire it out. And I just keep the rates just under the hire companies. And you know, like, if you hire a digger or a plate compactor from the hire company, you're going to get charged every day that it's on your site. If you have your own digger, you just put it on the site, but you don't need to hire it out when it's just sitting there for 3 days because it's not getting used. And then it becomes, you're efficient, you know, you're not getting delivery fees and all the rest of it, you know.
Yeah, 100%. And then also the depreciation, right?
All of that. It's, I mean, 100%. We should be charging for doing the quote. Quoting is some of the hardest you work, you know, and it's so important. So I definitely, you know, charge for it. Yep.
Do you use a QS or price yourself? Or both?
Lately, the last few years, I've been doing it all myself. A lot of around the materials and stuff, a lot of budgets. And after being doing it for 15 years, it's powerful, man, to be able to go back and look at all your past jobs and see, you know, what the similar job, what the materials were, for instance, and that's really powerful to be able to, you know, what you spend on labour, you know. I do a lot of it myself now, and I mean, you know, I'm more than happy for QSs to be involved. I think the best is a mixture of the two, you know, the two schools of thoughts, two methodologies, you know.
Yeah. EV or petrol head?
Not EV, man. Petrol, the V8.
Would you rather have a beer with an architect, a subby, or a council member?
Oh, no, yeah. I'd like to fucking find out what makes some of those council members tick, man. Especially the ones in the building and CCC team.
Maybe a beer with them might be a good idea.
Oh, yeah, I'd be interested to see what makes them tick, because I struggle sometimes, you know.
Yeah. Are you a jock or a hippie?
Not a hippie, jock, I suppose. What's a jock?
Jock, I don't know. You're a rugby guy. You know?
I suppose it's
jiu-jitsu.
a jock, jiu-jitsu, yeah.
Wine or whiskey?
Oh, no, I stay off the whiskey, man. Beer.
Can't believe you're not a wine guy after playing in the south of France.
Oh, yep. Coffee and wine.
Makita, DeWalt or Milwaukee?
Depends what for. The Milwaukee make the best toolboxes, I think, if you look at all the boys. DeWalt, drop saw and rip saw 100%, you know, but Makita for all the other stuff, you know, you can't go wrong, eh?
Cool. These days apprentices are A, soft, B, open-minded, C, hard workers.
It depends what sort of attitude they've got, man, and how, you know, how you can try and attitude, man. It's all down to the attitude. If you can get guys with good attitude, you can really do things with them, you know.
Yeah, almost mould them.
So I wouldn't say any of the above. Like, you just need to try and find guys with a good attitude, and they're out there.
Are you too mean or too nice to your staff?
I'm very black and white and direct, you know, and I make I don't apologise for that. It's, but I try and be really fair, but very direct. Probably too soft.
Yeah. What's one item you can't live without?
I love hunting, you know, so I'd like to always be able to have my rifles if I could, but I'm sure I'd find a way with a bow or something. I don't know.
Cool, man. Did you have fun?
Loved it, man. Well done. And I just want to say to you, well done on doing this. I think it's really good, and any way we can help the industry and these young fellas get better and see what can be done if they really, get their attitude squared away and get after it is bloody good, man. So
Yeah, awesome. No, I think they would have got a lot of value out of this. So, I appreciate you coming out and driving across the big bridge and
big bridge,
checking us out.
Get back before the traffic.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks,
Cool, man.
Willie.
Sweet.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, mate. Cheers, mate.